This week we're talking about poetry. This is Words About Books. I'm Ben. That's Nate. We do a cultural podcast. We're in arts and culture on so many podcast catchers. We were actually top like 200 or something in arts and culture
sad.
1 week. Yeah, it is sad for the culture.
Yeah, we're talking about Lokasenna. It's a story of Loki getting a nice steam.
We're talking about Lokasenna, which is
story of Loki taking too many laxatives and shitting on all the other gods and goddesses.
If you replace laxatives with alcohol, then you are pretty much correct in your statement. So usually we do an about the author. I think to kick it off, I'd like to do sort of a why are we covering this? And
it's a good question, Ben.
About where it comes from and maybe a little bit about the translator.
Why we're covering this is because House of Leaves is a very large, ambitious project, and we need an extra week to read that.
My cat's lost.
In the labyrinth, Ben?
Possibly. No,
means your cat must be like part human or something.
Yeah, he would be. No, so House of Leaves, I think we mentioned in the previous episode of Words About Books, is taking a very long time to get through, and we have begun debating perhaps whether or not it is worth the time investment and if it lives up to the enormous hype built around it. But we haven't finished it yet, so that's really not fair to speculate. But there's a little preview for the tone that episode might take. But Lokasenna is something I've actually had on the back burner for a while if we ever needed a quick episode. We've covered mythology once or twice on the podcast before, I think while you were out on paternity leave. So this will be your first time in Ben's mythology corner.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Norse poems and early English, Germanic mythologies, sagas. Before
Jesus came along and saved them all, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that. I guess you're bringing up an interesting point that I should probably specify. My interest in this stuff is not a weird race thing, as so many people's interest in it unfortunately is.
A weird race thing? Like,
yes. Have you ever heard
so white?
Have you ever heard of Asatru or Asatru?
Yeah.
Can you explain what it is to the class?
All I know is I'm assuming it's their religion.
Whose?
The Norsemen's religion pre-Christianity.
No. That's what... Okay. Asatru is a modern reconstruction movement.
Oh, well then someone needs to tell Paradox Games they got it wrong. That's what they call it.
Asatru, there's almost no archaeological evidence for what pre-Christian Nordic religious practices actually were. We have some little like idols here or there, but there's no book. There's no like book of rituals and rites. Everything we know...
Well, hold on here.
Okay.
Why are we covering this if there aren't any books, Ben? I signed up to be a bookman.
There is a book.
Not a rune stoneman.
So I'm walking you through history here. You said that it's before Christianity, and that's what got me started on this tangent. So hear me out, bud.
Okay.
The only texts we have are those written by Christians.
Got 'em. Score another win for Christianity, am I right? We can put whatever crazy shit we want in there. They eat hearts and they shit on each other.
There are technically a few writings here and there about the pre-Christian Norse. I think one of them is from an equally unreliable Caesar, who may not have had the most objective opinion of them, but there's not a lot pre-Christian, and so the only reason we know anything about Odin, Loki, Thor, beyond just a few superstitions, is that some Nordic Christians came along and wrote these stories down. The most authoritative account, which is shockingly incomplete, is the Poetic Edda. We are reading a translation of that by Dr. Jackson Crawford, my favorite Old Norse specialist, a man whose YouTube channel is criminally unsubscribed.
I guess they didn't have a name for their religion, so it just gets Asatro by default.
I'll put it this way. We don't know anything about it, but I highly doubt it is an organized religion, anything like the Abrahamic faiths.
Probably not, but that's our lens for evaluating stuff through. So you're getting a name, and you're getting an organization so that we could destroy it and replace it with Jesus.
Asatru, then, is a modern reconstruction movement. It is questionable in how not racist it is. I might get a lot of angry letters about this, but I think a lot of Asatru practitioners see it as a heritage-based religion. It is kind of something, if you're not descended of the Nordic peoples, that maybe you should go find something from your people to worship. I think that's the most polite version
but like,
of what they do.
Are they actually worshiping Odin? But they don't have any of like the texts, and the texts are based off of Christian sources.
In my opinion, they make it up.
Oh my God.
Now they may say they have other sources, but I do not think they are authoritative sources.
I have a source. There's a guy named Chris Hemsworth, right? He plays the thunder god Thor. He's got his brother Loki.
Oh God. No. I would wager a fair number of these people are kind of taking the Church of Satan, Satanism route, where they're just kind of atheists with fun costumes. But there is an uncomfortable racial component to a lot of Asatru, and that's not the angle I approach this from. I just like the stories.
Oh, okay.
This isn't about being white. This isn't about being Nordic. I'm not Nordic. The other thing I want to mention, if you're a Marvel fan, throw all that in the garbage. Marvel does Norse mythology worse than Disney does Greek mythology.
But Hercules. Do you not remember Hercules?
Not even his name. Pretty sure he beats Megara to death.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Hera played like a much larger role, and like Hades is not Satan.
No.
Hades, in fact, doesn't really do much of anything in most Greek mythology. It's almost like we're viewing it through that Christian lens again, and okay, he's the lord of the underworld, so he must be Satan, their version of Satan.
There's one other thing I want to add about the myths themselves, and that is that the Norse gods, this isn't really critical to your understanding of Lokasenna. It's just a good thing to know.
They would fight the Greek gods? It'd be awesome? Oh.
They're not really gods of anything.
What?
They're just kind of really like a really powerful family of divine beings. And the giants and the elves are not really maybe even different species from them. It's all very complicated, but so basically Thor is not the god of thunder. Loki is not the god of mischief. They're not gods of a particular domain in the way the Greek gods were.
Well, that's good, because that always bothered me about the Marvel stuff, because it's like, why are we trusting Loki if he's the god of mischief?
What else
he's
could he
obviously
possibly do?
going to be a villain. What are we doing?
Thor and Loki are not brothers. Oh
my God. Well, yeah, because Loki was a frost giant that was adopted by Odin for some reason.
So this is okay. Let me tell you something. This goes back to the gods and the giants are not different species thing. Half the gods have a giant parent. Thor, his mom is a Jotun. To the point where Jackson Crawford in a lot of his videos has taken to calling them anti-gods rather than giants, because giant gives the impression that they were like physically larger than the Aesir, which they are not.
Oh. So they're not like the things from Skyrim with like the mammoths that...
Nope.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Nope. Loki is Odin's blood brother, which is kind of only mentioned in this poem, and I guess is the explanation for why anybody puts up with Loki.
Yeah, an explanation for why Odin doesn't beat his ass right then and there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's sort of the background. So this poem that we're going to be talking about, deals with a particular feast that the gods are at, where Loki gets really drunk and he gets kicked out of the feast for killing one of their host's servants.
Yeah, that's just not cool to do.
Yeah, so
it's total god of mischief, Ben.
They were talking about how great the guy's servants were, and Loki hates hearing servants complimented, and so he kills the guy, and for that,
dick.
They kick Loki out of the feast. And the poem begins where Loki decides he's going to go back in there, and he's going to tell them a thing or two about themselves.
So this is really not a effective way to throw someone out if they can just come back and be an asshole.
Well, it's kind of like, you were at a bar and all these people told you to leave and you left, but then you walk down the street and you're like, I'm not the problem, they're the problem. I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell them what's up.
Or like you have a friend who won't leave, but he's really drunk, and finally he gets in the car, but his dumb then girlfriend or maybe fiance is like, yeah, they really wanted you to leave because you were being a disruption. And so he gets in his head that, like, I'm going to come back there and I'm going to be a disturbance for 2 hours. And maybe Nate's wife is going to have to call the police on like a sound disturbance or whatever. Yeah, I'm just pulling things out of my head. I mean,
is this another one of your every betrayal in my life happened over D&D stories?
We all have our corners, Ben. Let me have mine. All right, so my friend, Loki, goes back in there. Is like, I'm not the problem. You're the problem, man.
Essentially, and so throughout this
also,
poem,
this betrayal was a D&D story. Go on.
So this poem is going to be Loki systematically dressing down every god and goddess and their reactions to that, and it will culminate with Loki ultimately getting the shit kicked out of him and imprisoned till Ragnarok. So, I wanted to ask you...
So this is the last story that Loki would chronologically appear in, then?
Chronologically, perhaps, yes. They don't go chronologically.
No,
like I said, the Poetic Edda is very incomplete and at times contradictory. These poems may not all have been composed by the same person.
Well, geez, you have to get your religion in order. Look at Christianity. That never contradicts itself ever.
No, and even then, those guys voted on a book. So it's actually like the Bible had editors. It's at least it at least starts at the beginning and ends at the end. That's the one thing they got right. They knew they needed a strong ending.
Yeah, we need a strong beginning, we need a strong ending, and then
Arguably the only reason Revelations was included, but you won't let me talk about the Bible on this podcast for some reason.
If we get 10,000 subscribers, Ben.
So you've never read any Norse mythology, right?
No, because Disney doesn't count.
Did they ever try? I guess now Disney owns Marvel, so...
Yeah. Disney probably owns the gods.
I gotta ask you, did you have any preconceptions about Norse mythology going into this, or is this just a blank slate for you?
No, I know that Loki's a big giant asshole. He's consistently a horrible, horrible douche. Actually, I did know about, I think it was Balder, right?
Balder, yep.
Yeah, where Loki fucks that guy over just cuz he's Loki. It's what he does.
Yep. Well, also, the gods were being really annoying about Balder.
Yeah, didn't his mom go around to convince, everything to not hurt Balder except for, one thing? It was, a pine tree or something stupid like that.
It was mistletoe.
Mistletoe, even sadder. And then Loki was like, I'm going to use mistletoe to fuck this guy's entire career.
I believe the logic is mistletoe was too young to swear an oath.
Okay.
That's another thing. We can talk. If people respond well to this episode, I will talk at length about Norse mythology. I'm probably not the best source. Go check out Jackson Crawford's YouTube channel. He has all the videos you will ever need about Old Norse as a language, Norse mythology,
But if you'd rather hear two unqualified assholes talk about it, let us know.
I'm just going to say now, yes, it is the guy with the cowboy hat.
Loki is?
No, Jackson Crawford is.
Is this the guy who lives in Wyoming?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a cowboy. He carries a gun, and he knows a lot about Old Norse.
And he doesn't like other people, so he lives in the least populated U.S. state. Got it.
Hates them. Yep.
Good call, man. No, I you know what? 100% I'm with you, buddy.
What was your reaction to reading your first Norse myth?
My reaction was, why didn't more people punch Loki? I don't know, if you're calling my wife a whore, I'm gumming for you, buddy.
Okay.
I don't care how drunk you are, you're getting a bottle upside the head.
So I wish I could read the poem to you, but
Disney would come for you.
well, this translation of it that we read is copyrighted. There are older translations that are not in copyright, but they use kind of needlessly flowery language, and I don't like them.
And then Loki did proclaim that your wife is in fact a whore.
There's a lot of that. But I think for Lokasenna in particular, a more modern translation really conveys the message better.
It would be better if we could translate it as some sort of like battle rap. Can we do that, Ben? You wanna?
I have no interest.
Then Loki donned his sunglasses, his aviators.
You and Spooky Shy can talk about that. You don't want to embarrass me by having me try to rap.
My name is Loki, and I'm here to say your wife's a whore, and that's not okay. Not okay. And that's not okay. Balder, right? Mistletoe. Fuck this guy's entire career.
Yeah, you're off to a great start. So the poem is structured as Loki said, so-and-so says. And it just goes on like that. This is how they do dialogue in a lot of these poems.
Yeah, but when I try to do that, it's uninspired and dull.
The words of an editor, I assume. The first person Loki talks to, it kicks off with Loki coming back, super hammered, talking to the guy who is guarding the feast. He's like, so, what are they talking about in there? What are the gods up to? These fine, awesome gods. And the guy tells him, that they're talking about their weapons, they're talking about the readiness for war, and they're not. You don't have a lot of friends in there right now, Loki. You might not want to. You might not want to go in there.
Yeah, this guard is politely asking him to leave, and then we'll do nothing to prevent him from going back inside. What a shitty bouncer. Someone fire that guy.
Loki tells the guard that he will go in there, and he will bring them slanders and rumors to mix their mead with misery. The guard is like, if you do that, they're going to kick your ass. And Loki's like, fuck you, you're a dumbass. You can't match words with me. I'm going in there.
Well, yeah, we don't have to match words with you, Loki.
So Loki goes in there, and he says, hey, it's me, your friend Loki. And the whole room goes silent. And he's like, what? You're not gonna say anything? He's like, this is the feast. You better show me to my seat or tell me to leave. What's it gonna be?
Bye. Get out.
Well, to which Bragi says that they will never show him to a seat because he's an asshole and no one wants to drink with him. To which Loki says, and I am going to read this part because this is probably the most interesting part of the whole poem from like a lore perspective. Do you remember, Odin, when in bygone days we blended our blood? You told me then that you would never taste a drink that was not served to us both. And at that, Odin has to let Loki drink, or Odin has to stop drinking.
Bye, Odin. Bye. We'll miss you. Maybe next time don't mix your blood with an asshole.
Yeah, they did swear such an oath, and as I had to tell you, Nate, oaths are pretty important, and the source of many problems. So could they not be
like, okay, Loki, you sit outside at the little kids' table. We'll have people bring you the drinks that Odin drinks, but he's gonna stay in here, and we're gonna hang out with him.
They could have done that. Odin tells the guy sitting next to him, stand up, let Loki sit. I guess we're doing this.
Wow, not cool, Odin. Taking my seat like that? Tick.
Loki takes his seat. He says, "Oh, it's so great to be here with all you gods and goddesses, except for one. That one sitting all the way down there, Bragi. You's a bitch." Are you enjoying my retelling?
This is accurate.
And Bragi's like, "Look, dude, I will give you a horse and a sword and a ring if you just stop. If you just don't. If you just don't do this." And Loki is like, since when do you have a sword to give anyone? You're broke. We all know it. You're the biggest coward in this hall.
And he drops his pants and says, "This sword, motherfucker."
and Bragi's like, "Oh, if you had said that to me outside, then oh
Bragi,
boy,
that big Chad energy.
Yeah, you'd be in trouble. You'd be in real trouble." And
Quick, wife, hold me back.
Yeah. So this is the thing I love about Lokasenna is he's not wrong about anything he says about the gods. Nobody, like, a few people call him a liar. Loki tells that guy, you're real brave sitting at a bench, but you do a pretty good job of warming that bench. I haven't seen you charging into battle in a long time. If you're so angry, just go ahead and hit me. I don't think a brave man would be stopped by being in a beer hall. And that's when, Bragi's wife, Ethan, says, no, think of the kids. Think of the kids. I'm gonna hold you back. Give you a nice way out of this.
Yeah. You're lucky my wife is here, punk, or I'd storm all the way over there and show you one for Loki.
I'm gonna say Loki, bit of a misogynist, despite being extremely gender fluid himself, and more than a little bi.
He does birth a wolf and
he does not birth the wolf. I keep telling you that.
He should. Okay?
He births Odin's horse.
So much better, Ben.
Loki,
I can see why I was wrong.
Loki is Sleipnir's mother and Fenrir's father. God. Get it right.
My bad.
So Loki, it's weird that he's so misogynist because he's going to call every goddess a whore. Some of them he literally calls them that. But he implies that all of them are lusty and there's infidelity rampant in all of this. It's hilarious because it's like high school. Everybody is getting with everybody all the time.
That wasn't my experience in high school.
I believe you. The gods are more personalities than they are like religious figures. I think the people telling this poem, because it would have been orally transmitted, they didn't write these down.
It would be. And then Loki called her a whore.
But yeah, I mean, like, this was probably a comedy meant to entertain. The gods are personalities. They are characters. And that's why I love Norse mythology so much, because it's not this like formal canonized religion. But so Ithun successfully holds Bragi back, for which Loki says he can't think of any woman more lustful than her, and that she wrapped her pretty arms around the killer of her brother. And that's when she's like, "Look, I just don't want anyone to fight." She just kind of walks out of there.
Yeah. She doesn't actually respond.
No, she says, "I will not I will not slander Loki." Not here in the hall. Okay, not here in Agir's Hall. Okay.
Yeah, if we weren't here,
If we
in
were
the hall,
outside,
oh man,
if we were outside, oh boy, but we're not. So and we can't go.
No.
I'm
I'm enjoying my drink too much.
Yeah,
but,
no. You
maybe
just got
later.
your seat, but
Yeah.
maybe later. Yeah, you're in. Yeah. So then Gefyun says that the gods shouldn't be fighting. You know, why are we exchanging insults? And she's like, I like Loki. You know, Loki's a real cheerful fellow. We should all just laugh this off, have a good time. And then Loki says that she should be silent and that he remembers the boy that seduced her. He was a handsome boy. He gave her a necklace, and that was all he needed to give her for him to get with her. And now finally, like, Odin has to cut in. Odin's like, I don't know why you're trying to make Gefyun mad at you, Loki. You're an asshole. She can foresee the fates of all living things almost as well as I can.
I think he seems almost like he's not entirely sure if that's true. It's like, I believe that she could do that.
Odin is not all-knowing. He's kind of a dick.
He's constantly fucking up.
So I do want to focus, though, on the exchange between Loki and Odin. I'm going to read this. This is a quote directly from Jackson Crawford's translation. Loki said, "Silence, Odin. You always judge battles unfairly for humans. You have often given defeat to the better side when you shouldn't have." And then Odin gets pissed, right? Odin's like, okay, you want to go there? Odin said, "You know, even if I did judge unfairly and made the better side lose, I know that you, for 8 years, lived on Earth down below as a cow in milk and as a woman, and you've given birth to children. I call that a pervert's way of living."
I'm gonna go right here if you don't mind. My bad. It happens.
And then Loki's like, it'd be like that, do it. So Loki says, "Well, but people say that you practiced womanly magic on Samsei. Dressed as a woman, you lived as a witch among the human, and I call that a pervert's way of living."
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
And then Odin's wife cuts in and says, "You should not discuss your histories openly in front of everyone. Whatever you two gods went about doing in your younger days, that belongs in the past and should stay there."
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, we were young and we needed the money, okay?
Okay, so I wanted to break that down because I love that exchange. There is a kind of magic in Norse mythology called Seidr magic, and it's usually attributed to women. And I think there's some connotation that you have to play like the bottom role in sex with a dude to perform Seidr magic. It's very much connected to that. And there is a very specific...
So you gotta switch it up. You gotta spice up your bedroom so that you don't get magicked.
Yeah, and so essentially, Odin has practiced this kind of magic. That's what Loki is implying. That if Odin lived as a witch, he practiced this kind of magic, which means he also either transformed himself into a woman and had sex with men, or had sex with men in, his male form. It's unclear, but they're both accusing each other of doing this. And I love that the response to this isn't, "No, I didn't do that." It's, "Well, you did it more."
Yeah.
and then Odin's wife comes in and she's not like shocked by this. Like, this is old news to her, and she's like, "Could you just not talk about it right now?"
and then Odin and Loki are like, "Are we gonna kiss?"
I love that.
But they had an argument on who's gonna be the bottom, so...
Yeah, so there is a particular insult in Old Norse that is very homophobic, we could say. But it specifically refers to, like, the bottom. Apparently it's cool if you're top.
So they never had a power bottom in Old Norse.
I guess Odin is the ultimate power bottom. I look forward to your letters. I'm going to make that stance. I think Odin is the ultimate power bottom.
Oh my god. Even more of a power bottom than Girl from House of Leaves?
Ooh. That's tough. Yeah, he's fucking Odin. Yeah. So there's a particular word. I think it's called like arger or something, which is very offensive, very inflammatory, refers specifically to a man who plays the bottom role in sex with a man. And Jackson Crawford he explains this at the beginning. He translates it as sissy so as not to have it age poorly because, proper derogatory terms change so often. And also he doesn't really want to offend anyone by using a more accurate insult. But that word comes up a lot in this poem, especially when Thor gets there. Thor starts dropping S-bombs right and left. Because Thor would never do such a thing. Thor remains the uber manly, he's a real dranger, I think is the word. A real good dude. He's all that is man. He's the hero. There's a reason everybody loves Thor, and it's because Thor's the one that, gives a shit about humans.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
That's his thing?
Yeah, he protects humans. If you want protection, you better pray to Thor.
So why the fuck is he how did he become God of Thunder later on?
I don't think he is.
Why would they not call him like the God of Humans or some shit?
I don't know who calls him the God of Thunder.
Well, us winners, us historical winners, Ben. We got to write their myths down, Ben.
Well, I don't remember if there's ever actually any association with Thor and Thunder.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the next movie is called Thor: Love and Thunder, Ben. Right?
But I don't
know how you're not getting this.
As far as I know in the myths, he just beats people to death with Mjolnir. He never shoots lightning or anything.
Well, I mean, he probably has the lightning in reserve. When the hammer beating to death doesn't work, which it has yet to fail. So.
It could be. I don't think there's ever an instance of Thor shooting lightning at people, though.
Yeah, I assume he probably doesn't shoot lightning. He just hits you so hard it sounds like thunder, and then your head is no longer where your head was.
There's another thing I wanted to ask you if you caught in this exchange, and that's that Odin gives victory to the wrong side.
Oh, God, he's responsible for the Norse losing to Jesus!
No. Did you happen to notice that? Did you happen to think it was weird that Odin doesn't deny that he gives victory to the wrong side every now and then?
No, because I guess that makes complete logical sense in terms of how history often can play out. Like a smaller force beating a larger force.
That's a good way of interpreting it. There is a different interpretation of it, I think, if you read more of the Eddas. Odin. You're familiar with Valhalla, right?
Right.
Right. So that's where the people who die in combat go, the good warriors.
Damn.
Hell, again, 1L, not the Christian hell.
Weird how those terms are so close.
Well,
is that a later on translation?
I would guess it's probably... You're getting into the English language's evolution from its Germanic roots, I think. That hell became associated with the word that sounds like hell became associated with the afterlife. I don't know what is hell in Latin, like infernum or something.
Ah, good point.
Odin is collecting warriors for Ragnarok. So in all the sagas...
Oh, so sometimes he fucks over the wrong side to get better warriors?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Odin will help people. Like, he'll give them... one guy, I think, gets... it's like armor or a shield that will block all metal weapons. And he goes through, like, most of his career just winning fight after fight until Odin himself stabs him with a wooden spear.
Wow. And then that guy's final words were like, "This is why I prayed to Thor." Blah.
Well, no, then he goes to Valhalla, where he gets to drink mead and fight all day.
Oh.
But Odin harvests warriors at their prime. So he will often give victory to the wrong side because he wants them.
Nice.
Yeah. So
even though Ragnarok is like a foregone conclusion.
Odin's constant mission is to try to subvert Ragnarok.
And then it turns out that he accidentally fucks his own mom. Oh wait, no. That's another guy. It turns out he causes Ragnarok.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Fate is a weird thing that you kind of have to set aside all your preconceived notions about when you start reading Norse myth and sagas.
Odinpus Rex.
Everyone constantly hears their fate and then walks directly into it.
Well, yeah, it sounds
like here's the obvious,
like Greek, right?
Here's the obvious thing. Odin hears Loki's going to kill him, or Fenrir kills Odin. Heimdall and Loki kill each other, but basically without Loki, Ragnarok's not going to happen. Odin could kill Loki. He's not gonna. And it's like sometimes the people will just like forget that they heard the prediction and they won't behave accordingly. That happens. It's a lot worse in the sagas. I think the whole like prediction thing, it seems to me it's almost like it's for the audience. It's almost like you want to tell the people listening to the story, yeah, Sigurd is going to be killed by a friend or something, and like Sigurd forgets that, but you remember, so that's where the tension comes from. because you know he's in danger, but he doesn't know he's in danger. It's kind of their
it's kind of their Game of Thrones season 8. Dany forgot about that navy.
She just forgot. Yeah, she just kind of forgot.
Yeah.
And so did all her advisors and her own navy and the people who could see the ships coming. And
they just sprang out of nowhere.
I see people defending that season online now. Like that seems to have become the fashionable thing to do.
Yeah, it's like how they had to construct a whole thing about how Jar Jar Binks was secretly a Sith Lord and the prequels are great. It's like, no, he wasn't, and no, they're not. They're still bad, but, you do you. There's also a new Game of Thrones series coming out, and I'm just like, who cares?
Matt Smith's
could possibly care?
They got a doctor.
Oh, is he gonna also forget about the Navy? I know it's not written by those two idiots, but it's like, who cares?
We're not going to relitigate this. We've done a whole episode on this.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we're back.
So Frigg, Odin's wife, has interrupted Loki and said like, hey, how about you guys keep it to yourselves, huh? And Loki, of course, accuses her of infidelity. And Frigg says, if my son Balder was here, you wouldn't talk to me like that. And Loki's like, yeah, but he isn't. I did that. That was me.
Yeah.
Which they all knew.
Got him with that mistletoe.
Yep. So then Freya, who is sometimes also Frigg, that's another toughie. Unclear if they're different people, but at least here they seem like they're different people. So Freya is like, wow, Loki, you're going to come in here and you're going to boast about your sins? Like, you're going to come in here and brag about killing Balder, even though we're all just going to kick your ass for that? And Loki literally calls Freya a whore. Freya at least says those are lies. And that
nice.
Everybody hates him.
Yeah.
And he's going to go home friendless.
Why is he even allowed to go home at all?
Well, we're going to talk about that. So then Njorth butts in and he says, who even really cares if who the women sleep with? Because you're sitting here like, calling all these women bad names and accusing them of infidelities. And did we forget the part about you turn yourself into a woman and have children with men on Earth? Are we just forgetting that you're the biggest whore here, Loki? And Loki's like, who are you to talk to me about what is and is not manly? Because you are just a hostage sent here. You're just a hostage sent here so that the gods don't kill your family. And North is like, yeah, okay, I'm a hostage. But you know what? I've sort of come into my own here. I've fathered a son that everybody loves. And Loki's like, yeah, you fathered that son with your own sister, so it doesn't really count now, does it?
He's like, no, not true. Let me tell you about a little place called Alabama, Loki.
Well, and then Tyr is like, hey, you leave him alone. Because, he's a cool dude. He doesn't go around insulting women and being mean. He does great things. He frees captives from their chains. And Loki's like, silence, Tyr. You don't know how to resolve a dispute between men. In fact, I'm remembering that thing about your right hand. Oh yeah, how my son bit it off. And then Tyr's like, Yeah, I did. I did lose a hand that day, and you lost a son. And let me tell you, Loki, he's not doing so great. Okay? Yeah, he's gonna live forever in chains until Ragnarok.
First of all, I'm not your friend, so stop looking at me. Second of all, I'm not a rapper, so stop rapping at me.
And then Loki says, I fucked your wife. And that's
That stops him.
That's the end of Tyr's dialogue here.
Game, set, and match.
So now it's Frey's turn. Frey's like, well, you know what, Loki, you're going the right way to wind up chained up next to your son. And Loki's like,
why are we chaining him up when we could kill him?
Loki's like, you had to buy your bride. And you gave away your famous sword to do it. And I don't even think you're going to be able to fight when the giants ride into Asgard and kill all you at Ragnarok. And that's when Big Veer comes in to defend Frey. He's like, if I were half the man Frey was, I'd kick the shit out of you. Which I'm not really sure. Yeah, you're trying.
Yeah.
You're trying. That might not be enough to really intimidate Loki.
Yeah. If I were half the man of this guy, I would beat you, but I'm not, so I'm just gonna go bye.
Yeah, and I'm not even gonna the rest of what Big Bear says doesn't even matter. Loki just owns him. So now it's Heimdall's turn. Heimdall's like, Loki, you're drunk, okay? You're saying shit you can't take back.
You really
right now.
need some sort of king or noble above you to keep you in line.
And you need to just take a step back. And Loki's like, shut up, Heimdall. And that's the end of the exchange with Heimdall. Heimdall gets off pretty easy. So Skadi comes in. And Skadi's like, this is fun for you now, Loki, but we are going to tie you to a rock with the cold guts of your own son if you don't shut up. Loki says, maybe you will, maybe you won't, but that won't change the fact that I was the first one on the battlefield and the last one to leave the battlefield when we kicked the shit out of your dad.
Ooh.
And Skadi's like, even if that's true, you will never be a guest in any place I have power. And Loki said, wow, you had kinder words for me when you were begging me to join you in your bed.
Oh, shit, dog.
Shit. And so then Sif comes forward. Sif being Thor's wife. This is where shit gets real for Loki.
You done fucked up, Loki.
You don't want to fuck with Thor. Thor is one of the things Marvel got right. He is the strongest of the gods. Whenever something goes wrong and the gods really need something done right, at least if it's punching things, Thor is still incredibly stupid. They call Thor. Thor can kill anybody.
So that explains why the Master Chief is inside Mjolnir armor. This actually makes a lot of sense. When they need something dealt with, they just call the Master Chief with his Mjolnir, and he punches things until things are made right again.
I would say yes, except there are multiple named sets of armor in Norse mythology, and why you would make armor and not a weapon.
His weapons are his fists.
Mjolnir? Yeah,
his armor-coated fists.
So Sif comes forward, and I don't know what Sif's game is, because Sif is like, well, look, Loki, she brings him a drink, and she's like, I know you're being mean to all these guys, but come on. You can't have anything bad to say about me, Sif. I never done anything to anybody. And so Loki drains the drink, And he says, Sif, that would be true. I wouldn't be able to say that you had any infidelities or indiscretions if it weren't for the fact that we slept together. Mic drop.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God. That's when Bela chimes in, and she says, listen, everyone, I think the mountains are shaking. Thor's coming home. And that's when Loki calls her a name, but then Thor comes in. And Thor...
Doesn't he just repeatedly say, shut up or I'll fucking kill you?
All of Thor's stanzas begin with the same
Threat?
3 lines. Which is, silence you sissy, which keep in mind, that's a much more derogatory term in Old Norse. Silence you sissy, or I'll let my hammer silence you instead. That's how Thor opens up everything he says to Loki. And they go back and forth, and Loki tries to insult Thor, and Thor doesn't really have any of it. He's just like, Loki, shut up or I'll kill you. And Loki says something, and Thor's like, Loki, I'm going to kill you. And eventually Thor warns Loki one last time, and Loki's like, you know what, Thor? Out of all these jokesters, all these clowns here, I know you'd really kill me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go.
You know what, Thor? I'm just gonna take my drink and go somewhere else.
You know what, Thor? Good game. And Loki confidently walks out of the room, walks past the guard, gives him a brief nod, runs screaming into the night, gets into his car, you hear the tires squeal, drives away. Loki then attempts to hide as a fish. This is not part of this poem. Loki attempts to hide as a fish in a river, but he is captured and chained up to await Ragnarok.
He's got some venom coming on his face.
Yeah, Loki is tied to a rock with the guts of his son, and they hang a poisonous snake over him, which drips venom into his face, which causes him great pain. And his wife is sitting there with a bowl to collect the poison, but occasionally she has to empty the bowl.
Yeah, bring 2 bowls, idiot. You swap them out.
Could bring 2 bowls. You got a good point there. But yeah, so she tries to swap him out, but he gets some poison on his face, and he screams and shakes his chains, and the whole world feels the shaking, and that is how we get earthquakes. The end.
The end.
This was a story about how we get earthquakes.
Yep. Obviously. That's exactly where... It was so clear that's where that was going.
It is one of my favorite Old Norse poems. This is the kind of stuff that attracts me to Old Norse mythology. I love this like petty fight. It feels like real people talking. I like Greek mythology too, but I think this was just a little bit more raw. I don't know. It just feels more real. What was your reaction to it? I'm dying to know.
I feel like I need to know like more about Norse mythology. That's kind of my reaction. So I was like, God, I need to really distance myself from the Disney shit, because...
Yeah, you gotta get away from Marvel. You gotta forget everything you know about Marvel. Everything is wrong. Odin is not this wise grandfatherly figure.
Who's the father of Loki and Thor for some reason, and...
Odin is almost as much of a bastard as Loki. Possibly right up there with him. There's a reason they hang out.
Yeah. Yeah, so if Thor would have just beheaded him, would that have ended Ragnarok?
It's a tricky situation. I mean, if Loki can't get out, I guess Ragnarok never happens, but fate is fate. Like, time is not linear in Norse mythology.
Oh my God. It's non-Euclidean.
It's non-Euclidean. There's a concept in Old Norse where if you are, or in Old Norse, in the Nordic culture, where you're going to die on your fated death day. Your only choice is, do you meet it with fear or do you meet it bravely?
Well, if you know you can't die except on that day, you just go on a killing spree.
Really highly prized in that culture was like bravery, almost suicidal bravery. And that was one of the beliefs behind it was you're going to die when you die. And if today's your day, nothing you do is going to stop it. And that's kind of how they viewed fate. So it was really just all about how you react to the circumstances. Are you going to react like a man, like a dronger? Or are you going to wimp out and try to hide from it, which is a futile gesture anyway?
Like a sissy. Are you going to fuck a giant wolf and a serpent and a half-dead person in existence? Or are you gonna cry like a bitch?
Did it interest you in Old Norse at all? Would you be interested in reading more to explain?
Yeah, I'd be interested in learning more.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'd like to cover more. I have other poems I like that are maybe a little bit more lore heavy. Voluspa is one of them. I think would be a good one. A lot of people's favorite is Havamal, which is I don't know if you've ever read the Bible, but Havamal is a lot
why would
like,
I do that?
Havamal is a lot like Corinthians, where it's just kind of like a book of wisdom and like sayings. It always gives us a good thing to talk about between books we don't want to finish. Let us know if you want us to talk about more mythology. And you could do that by contacting us on Twitter at WABpod.
Or you can go on buymeacoffee.com/WABpod and give us money. And then in the comments say, do more Norse stuff.
Ooh, that might be the most effective way to get us to talk more about it. No, I'm very, very insecure. If you just tell me you liked something I did, I will do more of it because I crave attention. That's why I have a podcast. Next time we have not House of Leaves, right?
Right. Because
we're still delaying that even more.
Yeah. Because my daughter decided to give me like 5 different diseases all at once. And so I was out for a week.
Let's be real. Let's be real. It was all worth it to not have to read more House of Leaves.
I'm definitely at
I don't even dislike it that much.
I'm at like thumbs in the middle, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I really wish that like stuff would start happening now.
That's exactly where I'm at. I'm like, beautifully written. I'm hooked. Please stop hooking me.
Yes. Please stop giving me more hooks. Let's get to the part where you pay it off.
If Johnny having sex and doing drugs isn't going anywhere, can you fast forward it for me? I will just assume Johnny continued to have sex and do drugs if you just skip to the part where something different happens.
Please.
So what are we reading instead of House of Leaves next week?
Well, we're not reading anything. I'm talking to you about something I read earlier this year, and I assume you're not reading it, because why would you want to?
You assume correctly. I'm not reading what you want to talk about.
We're going to talk about the Thrawn duology.
Again.
It's the sequel to the Thrawn trilogy. I guess it's technically called the Hand of Thrawn duology. So, you're gonna learn what the Hand of Thrawn is.
Do you have anything going on in your spare time that is not Thrawn or Halo?
Yes, I'm not reading any of those things now. I wonder why.
House of Leaves.
Yeah, exactly. That, and eventually if you keep digging, you hit bedrock and you can't dig down any further. So, like, I guess we're going to do the Thrawn canon at some point. But, like, I'm kind of done with Thrawn. Like, I'm good for now.
You went and read 2 books you didn't need to read.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was a good idea.
No one's saying that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying I would do it again if I had the option.
So next week, you're all going to get Thrawned one last question mark time. Then we are going to jump in to House of Leaves. Now, House of Leaves is kind of a puzzle-solving mystery book, ostensibly. And there's a lot I'm getting the feeling going to be open to interpretation.
And that's
House
okay.
of Leaves.
You're wrong. Our interpretation is the correct.
What I was going to say is, if people are interested in reading along, you probably should have started 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because it is very intense. The good news is a lot of the pages are blank. So it's like 600 and some pages, but I think like a good 150 of them are mostly blank.
Yeah, that's accurate. And there's a bunch of like photos in there. And
yeah, so if you want to engage with us, we're very open to audience participation on this one. Go ahead and tweet at us if you got any theories or anything you want us to talk about, especially if you're a fan of the book, because right now we're kind of not getting it.
Yeah.
I think we're both probably reaching the halfway mark, and we kind of don't get the big deal.
Yeah.
But if we're missing something, which is entirely possible, let us know. If there's enough interest, maybe we'll do a stream or something to talk to people about it. So if that's something you think you'd be into, get yourself a copy and read along with us.
All right. And with that, we're off to go read more House of Leaves. Bye.